Yeah. So today what we'll see is we'll try to implement the HTTP methods. Okay. We'll use the HTTP methods to uh, get some uh, data from the API, and we'll see the different methods: get, post, put, delete, and all those things. Okay. So, but from where do we get the data? When we use these HTTP methods, we can get some data from some API. Okay, so let's see what kind of API we have. I hope you are all familiar with the REST countries API. So if I go to the REST countries, there we can see we have all endpoints v2. Yes, so here from this is an API from where we can get all the countries data, isn't it? So let me try to get the data from this API using the HTTP get method. Okay, so in my, let's say I'll now do it in the app component itself. So in the app component, I'll have one property called countries. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me not write it in the app component. Let me create a component. So yeah, this is the blank project that I had created just now. So here I'll create a component. So let me name the component as home. Okay, the home component is created. Now inside this app component, I'll just load the home component. Okay, fine. Now what will happen if I go to the browser? I can see homework. So home is loading. So in the home component, I'll just create the a property which will hold the URL, that is the API. Okay, so let's say countries API. Okay, countries API is of type string and is equal to, what is the API? This is the API. So I'll paste it here. Okay, everything is fine up to here. Now, what are the things we need from this? Oh, sorry, I again wrote it in the app component. I need to write it in the home component. Yeah, in this home component. Okay. So here I have created the property. Fine. Now what do I need next is I have to use the HTTP methods first. I have to use the HTTP methods. For that, I have to get the HTTP, because HTTP methods are not with us now. We have to find it, we have to get it. And then what we have to do is, the moment this component loads, whenever this component will load, it will first get the country's data. Okay, it should automatically get the data. I will not call any function. It has to call get the data on its own. Okay, okay, fine. So for that, first thing, let's go and see how do I use the HTTP method. So for that, what we need to do is, in app module, I need to import a module called HTTP client module. Okay, this HTTP client module is to be imported from, let's say, import HTTP client module from @angular/common/HTTP. Okay, this is the location. This thing you have to remember. Okay, @angular/common/HTTP. There we have the HTTP client module. Okay, once the module is imported, now we can use the things that is present inside the module. So inside this module, we have a service called HTTP client. So that we need to use here. Okay, in our component. So in our component, what you can do is you have to import HTTP client from @angular slash common slash HTTP. Okay. Sorry. Ah, here I have written L small. Yeah, fine. Okay. This is the service that I'm importing. Remember one thing, the module name is HTTP client module that I've imported, and the service I'm using is HTTP client. This is HTTP client. This is HTTP client module. Okay. Okay. Now we have to use the methods that is present in the HTTP client. See, in the HTTP client, we have lot of methods. There it is not showing, but we have the get, post, put, delete, whatever methods are there. They are all present in the HTTP client service, and those are all are of the observable type. Okay. Okay, let me show you now. Now to use this, we have to create an instance of this service. Okay, that is known as dependency injection. So for that, what we need to do, we have a constructor here, remember, and we also have an ng on in it here by default in the home component. So first we will inject this HTTP client into this component class. Okay, what do I write here in the constructor parenthesis? Not here. Okay, in here I write private, and then I have to name one variable, that is a any variable you can write. You can write x, abc, whatever you want. Okay, I will just name it http. You can write anything in place of http. Then after http you have to write colon, and then http. After http you will give colon, and after colon you have to write http is of type this word, http client. This word you have to write here, HTTP client. Okay, so once we write it like this, now what will happen? If I use this variable, I can get all the methods inside. I can access everything inside HTTP client. Okay, HTTP is of type HTTP client. Now the thing is, I told you one more thing, that we have to get the data automatically when the component loads, isn't it? That means I won't I will click a button or call the method from my side. It has to load the data on its own by calling this API and getting the data. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create one property where this data will be stored, because from this API the data we will fetch. After fetching the data, after getting the data, we have to store it somewhere, isn't it? So I'll create one countries property. Okay, countries is of type any, let's say. Okay, now I have created the country. So now what I have to do, I have to call the HTTP get method on this URL, and then I have to store it in countries. So, and this has to be done automatically when the component loads. So whenever we want something to be done when the component loads initially, suppose the component is loading and I want something at the beginning on its own automatically, then what I do is I write those logic in the ng on init method. Ng on init means when the component initializes, ng on initializing, when the component initializes, when the component starts, it will call these things automatically. Okay, so what I'll do is this dot countries is equal to this dot http. What is this http? This is the http I have created here, this property. Okay, this dot http dot get, and inside get I have to write the URL. What is the URL? It is countries API. So this dot countries API. Okay, now the thing is, let me show you one thing. I have done this, and immediately after this, if I write console.log of countries, you can see this dot countries, we will get nothing. Okay, in the console you can see we are getting observable, but we are not having anything. Okay, so why that is happening? Okay, even if I So the reason is, after using this get method, it is returning an observable, but we have to subscribe to it. Okay, so what I need to do here is this.http.get, then the API, then dot subscribe. Okay, dot subscribe, and here we'll have a callback function. I'll use the arrow function notation like this. So here we have the response that I'll name it as res. Okay, you can write anything here. You can write a, x, y, anything. So inside the callback function, what I'll write is okay. Let me not write it like this. I'll write it like this. Okay, this dot country, because this will not return anything. So this dot http dot get, this dot countries API dot subscribe, and here what I'll write is this dot countries is equal to res. Okay, so if I write like this, what is happening in the ng on init? That means it is, if it is inside the ng on init, that means this thing will be called, this thing will be executed initially when the component loads. And what will happen? It is first calling the, using the get method, and from this API, what is this API? This is the API, and it is subscribing to that observable, because that get method is returning an observable. After that, whatever response we are getting, we are storing the response in the countries property. Okay, so immediately after this, if I write console.log of this dot countries, what will happen? I can see the output in the console. So here we can see 250 countries have come. Okay, so the same array I hope you have already used earlier for JavaScript and all those things. So this is the thing we are getting. So this way we can use the get method. But remember one thing, this whole block, this whole HTTP get method, this is an what is happening here, this is asynchronous. Okay, that means it may take some time sometimes to get this value from this URL. It may take some time sometimes. Okay, so whatever you write inside this, so here what I am doing is I am storing the res into countries, and I am trying to print the value of countries. So if I try to print this outside the HTTP get method, I'll not get it. So you can see I'm not getting it. I'm getting undefined here. Why? Because at this point, the countries is not yet received in our end. Okay, so for that we have to always write it here. Whatever you want to do with the countries, you will write it inside the HTTP get method only. That means inside this subscribe, inside this callback function only. This callback function, inside this callback function, you have to write everything. Okay, so this is how we can get the value. Okay, now the same thing can be done using some JSON server kind of thing also. Okay, now we are using this URL to get the data from there. We can create our own API also. Okay, let me show you. Let me do one thing. This is the project, right? Here, let me have a db.json file like this. Okay, let me create some data inside it. So let's say I have something like books. Okay, books array is there. One object is already there. Title, welcome to email, price 300. Let me create more books. Okay, welcome to, let's say, CSS, and let me write it here 350. Welcome to JavaScript, or I can write a JS. I can write here 400. Okay, so I have 3 books inside this array, and this whole thing is a JSON object, and I'll use this JSON to, first I will serve it as a server. So how do I do that? I have to do JSON server. So let me write here, this is db.json file is inside this folder. So I'll write here cmd JSON server --watch, and then db.json. Okay, so once I do this, it is ready, and we can see that the API URL will be http localhost 3000, and if I want to access the books, then you will write http localhost 3000 books. Okay, let me show you now how do I do that. So I'll just copy this thing and paste it here. Okay, I'll paste it here, and then let me do this, change this books API, and this one is books, this one is books API, and this one is books, this one is also books. Okay, fine. Now what we are doing the same thing, but we are calling it from localhost 3000/books. Okay, let's save this, go to the browser, and we can see we got the 3 books. Welcome to HTML, welcome to CSS, welcome to JS. Okay, we're getting the books. Now we can display this in a table. That is not a big problem. You're getting the books array, isn't it? Using this books array, I can display it in a table. So table tr th. So first thing is we have a title, and only 2 things are there: title and price. Okay, after that the next tr we have to repeat it. So star ng for equal to let book of books. Okay, here td will be book dot what? Title, book dot title, and book dot price. Okay, okay. Okay, so once we get this and save this, go to the browser. So we got the, okay, the table has no border, border equal to 1. Okay, we got our data here. Can you see it? We got welcome to HTML, price is there, welcome to JS, welcome to CSS. Okay, all things are there. Now what else can we do with this? Okay, so this way we are getting it. Now we can add some delete button as well. Okay, so let's see that. How do I do it? Or get, okay, let me do one thing now. This is done, then let me add more books from here. I can do that. I can have one input. Okay, input type equals to text, and we'll import the ng module. Sorry, we will import the forms module. Okay, once the forms module are imported, we can use the ng model here. So ng model is equal to some property. So some property, let me create one property here. What property I'll create? That is maybe new book. Okay, new book is of type any. So new book, I have to bind it to the ng model. Okay, fine. Now once this is done, then we have to have one add book button. Add book. Okay, then when clicking on this add book, when clicking on this, what we'll have? We'll have one method called add book. Okay, so here, so ng on it is complete here. So I'll have a add book. Okay, like this. So in this add book, what will happen? We have to use the post method to save some data to that, what is it called, to that API. Okay, what is the API? We already have the API. So let me do that. So what I'll do here, this dot http dot post, and this post method, see, remember one thing here, get method is taking only one argument here, that is the from which API you want to get the data. But in post you have to give two things, the API also, and also what you want to post, isn't it? We have to post the book and where I'll push. So while when you are doing add book in normal to-do list, you are writing this dot books dot post of new this dot books dot push of new book. That means in array you are pushing new object. But here we don't have the array. What is that array? That is the books API. Okay, in the books API we have to push new book. So post, here we will write this dot books API, then comma the object what we want to pass. So the object will be new book, this dot new book. Okay, but new book should have price and title, isn't it? So we have to write it in a different way. Can we do that? What can be done for that? Okay, no problem. So we'll have two things, ng model is equal to new book. Okay, I'll write something like this, book title. Okay, we'll have another one, that is book price. Okay, book title and book price, this is better. Now what is this? This one is book title and book price. Book price is of type any. Okay, fine. Now while doing add book, first you have to create this new book. So let new book is equal to one object which will have title as this dot book title and price as this dot book price. Okay, now in the books API, what we have to push, we have to post this new book. Okay, once we do this, then it will happen. But after posting, we have to again do the subscribe. I have to call the subscribe method, otherwise it will not post it. Okay, dot subscribe. Inside subscribe, we have to pass the callback. So res equal to, so inside this function, what we'll do is, so we don't need to do anything actually. After posting, you can just console.log to check it whether it is working or not. You can check console.log of res. That's it. Okay, because after posting we don't need to do anything. After getting, we need to save it in the books array, books property. That's why we were writing this dot books equal to res. But here after posting, I don't need to do anything. Or you can do one thing, alert new book added, something like this. Okay. Okay, fine. Now let's save this, go to the browser, and let's see. So I am adding one book, let's say welcome to Angular. Okay, price is, let's say, 500, and add book. Okay, the book is added, but it is not getting here. Okay, so for that, what we need to do, and new book added also, it is not alerting. Okay. So What happened here? 1 second. Okay, JSON server was reset, so I need to run it again. Sometimes it has that problem. Okay, fine. Now let's see. Everything is saved. Let's click on add book. Yes, again something is wrong. Let me check. Okay, so the problem is whenever we are using JSON server, this JSON server is actually a package, isn't it? So it requires some things like, let me show you. We need to have an ID compulsorily. Okay, so let me do one thing. This is the books API we had. So here I must have one ID. Okay, let's say ID is 1. Here the ID is 2. Okay, here the ID I'll have it as 3. Okay, and while adding as well, we should add the ID, otherwise it will again throw error, because in real time whatever data we save in the server or wherever we save anything, always it has an ID. Okay, so we may not show the ID in the table, but we need to have the ID here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll have one book ID. Okay, so I'll have the book ID here, and then we can create the property here. Before book title we can have book ID. Book ID is of type. Okay, fine. Now let new book will have one ID as well. Only then it will accept it. That is not an error, I mean that is not a mistake, but that is the rule of JSON server, so we have to follow that. So this dot book ID. Okay, fine. Now let's save this and go to the browser and check. So let's say we have already 1, 2, 3 IDs are there. So I'll put 4 and then welcome to Angular. Okay, and then what we have here, 500. Let's say price is 500. Add book, new book added. Okay, now the thing is it is not reflected here, isn't it? So what we can do is we have to call this get method again. Okay, so what I'll do is we have to write whole thing after this immediately. So instead of writing this whole thing again and again, let me create a function, let me create a method for that. Get all books. Okay, get all books is a method. Here what we'll do is we'll write this code. We'll cut this and paste it here. Okay, the same thing. So in the ng on unit, what I'll do, I'll just call this method, this dot get all books. So what it will do, it will get all the books initially. It will call this method automatically so that this part will be called. And after doing this alert, add book, there is one alert. So before doing alert or after doing the alert, new book added, we can call the this dot get all books, because it was adding the books, but it was not updating it, isn't it? So now let's save this, go to the browser. Now we can see, and we can add some more things here. What is this? This is actually book ID. Okay, we can have one BR. Just for the time being, I am putting BR. Later on, you can put some margin, or you can put some make it inline block or something. Okay, I mean you can make it block level element, and it will work fine. Okay, so book ID, and then we have book title. Okay, and then we have the book price. Okay, I think it is all fine now. Now you can save it, go to the browser. Yeah, now it is looking fine. Now we'll see book ID. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 is already there. I'll put 1, 5. Book title is welcome to React.js. Okay, let's say book price, this is also 500. I click on add book, first alert will come, and I click on OK, it will update the table. Okay, earlier it was not updating, now it is updating. Let's say ID is 6, welcome to Node.js. This one is, let's say, 600. So here first the data will not come, first alert will come, after alert it will update it here. Okay, I hope you have understood the get and post methods. Please practice these two things on your own for some other kind of data. Create some JSON data like this. Okay, create some JSON data like this. Now you can see it is updated here as well. Okay, whatever I have added, all the books have come here. Okay, so this way create some table like this, and yeah, create some data like this, and do this table. Okay,